All right, my screen looks like we're live. Hello, voters, Pennsylvania voters, and anybody really across the United States. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Tony Shoup with Audit the Vote. You are in the Audit the Vote newsroom. I am joined with my co-patriot, longtime friend, Karen Taylor, my partner with Audit the Vote. Karen, how long have we've been friends? A long time. Are we 15 years?
90. So, yeah, 15 years.
We never, if you had told us we'd be doing this, we both would have ran the other way. I can't believe we're in politics. At any rate, like, share, and subscribe to this on whatever social media platform you're using it on, because we need all the help we can get getting the word out. And so we are not fake news. We're going to bring to you some of the latest and greatest election integrity issues coming from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, how we see things playing out in the 2024 election. We're going to talk about the Trump rally because we attended, and then some initiatives that we've got going on where you can help us. If you are willing and able to poll watch and volunteer, or just want to be somebody that's eyes on the ground for us, we need all the help we can get. We are going to fight as hard as we possibly can to stop another 2020 repeat in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And then at the end of the show, we'll take questions. So like, share, and subscribe. Go to our website, auditthevotepA.com. Lots of changes, redoing the website. So you'll see a lot of changes there. And if you can... And we're just going to go right in. So the Trump rally, actually, we could start that, Joel. That's fine. So we're going to just start by playing a video of the opera singer at the Trump rally, who I think he kind of kicked things off, if I can remember. I don't know. It's a bit of a blur. But yeah, go ahead and play that video, Joel. It's excellent. The Trump rally was electric. We'll kick it off with this video. He certainly didn't need any more excitement. My gosh, when he just gets on stage, it's an electric environment. I would encourage you, if you've never been to a Trump rally before and he is coming anywhere near you, it is so very worth going. The mainstream, of course, is trying to say that the turnout, or they either ignore the turnout or they downplay the turnout. And it was packed. I don't know. At one point, I did hear them say 20,000 people, 21,000 people. Right Side Broadcasting was saying there were 100,000. There was definitely tens of thousands of people, well over 20,000. If I had to ballpark it just from being there on the ground, I would say probably at least 50, maybe 60. Joel was saying backstage 60,000 people. It was packed. Joel's going to share some pictures. We're going to just go through some pictures so you can experience it with us, recap his iconic return to Butler County, of course, the scene of J13, what now goes down in history as one of the most somber, surreal days of the first assassination attempt. There's been 2 now.
I hate you have to say the first.
Right? And who knows how many more that it's just not publicized or that we don't know about. But the first one, I think everybody will remember. I'm already seeing it through my kids' eyes. Will remember where they were on July 13th when the shots first rang out. We were at a birthday party for my kids, their family, at a park, listening on our phones to Right Side Broadcasting when the shot started. And my kids are starting to be like, oh, I was on the playground, or I was at the whatever. So, I mean, we're only a few months out, so I can't even imagine years to come what this is going to look like. But
Crazy.
This felt way different and so cool to go back there for him to honor Corey Comparatori, I think. Am I saying that right? Comparator or Comparatori? Comparatori. Got to go back and see him and his family honored, and it was just an incredible experience. So yeah, Karen, give your 2 cents while Joel is going through. What do you think was the most impactful part for you? I know it wasn't your first Trump rally either, but
it was not. So, there were 2 parts that I think hit me more than anything else. And it's not going to be what most people think. The first one, I think, was getting to see our buddy. Tony and I know him well. Rico Elmore, actually. Rico is local in Beaver County, Pennsylvania. And he was speaking at the J13th rally, and he had run for a House rep seat. He's the vice chair of the Beaver County Republican Committee. And just because, his veteran background, when the shots rang out, he actually just jumped over the barricade to go and help Corey. And he wanted nothing for it. I mean, that's just Rico. That's the type of guy he is. And just to see him get the honor from Trump and get to see him talk on stage was absolutely incredible. And my second one, I think, was when the lady was having her medical emergency and you saw the EMTs run up there and they had the defibrillator, and, Trump just stopped and he's like, get a doctor. And the crowd broke out in the Star Spangled Banner. Was probably one of the most special moments ever. And it was really cool because Dr. Sweetwater, who I told my husband will probably never go to another Trump rally, because the first one he was at was, J13th. And then he was at this one and they had to use a defibrillator on this lady. And he gave the thumbs up, and there was not around me. There was not a dry eye. Like, everybody was praying for her, and, they brought her out on a stretcher. And so it was just, that was probably one of the coolest things. Cause when you hear, 50, 60, 70,000 people, oh, love it. Here we go. Oh. But when you see that many people just in unison singing the Star Spangled Banner, I can't even put into words. Just, I got chills. It's just one of the most special moments ever.
Look at him there. To give you some background, Rico has run for multiple positions. He's ran for state rep twice. He ran in my district. He would have been my state rep in 2020. He was a newly registered, I think, Republican, because he's a former Democrat, woke up to the Marxist indoctrination that they do to the party and came on the Republican side. Quite frankly, not the most conservative views or stances on certain issues, but definitely sane. A sane Republican he is. And when he was running in 2020, the GOP hadn't done anything for him. I'm guessing because it was really new. He had just switched over and no one knew about him. But then he got active. He got involved in the Republican Party. He's now the vice chair of the Republican Party in Beaver County, where I live. And he ran in 2022 for the House seat again. And this is what I find interesting, and the reason why we fight and do what we do at Audit the Vote for election integrity is because in 2020, he had no support from the GOP. He had raised next to no money, no real volunteers, and knocked doors. He got the same amount of votes in 2020 that he got in 2022 when he ran again, even though in 2022, he raised $250,000. He knocked on 11,000 doors, and he had a ton of help from the GOP, way more name recognition. He got the same amount of votes in both elections. And so I just think about that for a second. Let that settle in your brain. 2020, biggest turnout ever in the history of elections in America. 2022 gubernatorial race, more turnout than certainly primaries, and definitely on years when there's not a federal race on the ballot. But didn't you think that maybe the turnout, the turnout was drastically less in 2022, but he got almost the exact same number of votes. Went to bed, of course, on election night, up thinking he won. Karen, I remember you and I being like, he's got it, yay! And gets up in the morning and lost to the mail-in ballots. So just saying, I know Rico is not 110% on the election integrity train in terms of understanding and believing what I believe happened, but he definitely is, I think, potentially a victim of the system. And of course, we won't know that without full transparency, which is why we're pushing on it so hard. But it's still really cool to see him and super proud of him and thankful that he's up there. Look at him. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. There he is.
Amazing.
So there's some election integrity background for you. Joel can keep rolling through some pictures. We do want to give you guys some meat and potatoes and updates based on what's happening in the courts and what we are seeing. By the way, what you hear comes from big name microphone people, and what we're seeing on the ground is sometimes in conflict. So we are going to give you the truth, no chaser, just as straight as we see it from our eyes on the ground, and understand that there's three sides to every story. I believe his, hers, and the truth. And so when you see things from different angles, you get a whole different perspective, and we're just going to give you ours, and you might not like it all the time, but you know what? It is what it is. I'm uncensored and unfiltered. And
that was also a pretty amazing moment too. That was so cool.
So is the painting, this guy, he's a famous painter, and I guess so Corey's picture must be on there. Like, I'm always fascinated.
It's already on there, and then they have tape over where his picture is.
Okay, because I've seen them do these things too. They did it at a church service I went to last year on Christmas Eve, where it looks like a mishmash of nothing, but then all of a sudden, as it comes together, all of a sudden,
amazing thing.
You see the picture. But in this case, it still looks good. But I thought we were eventually going to somehow see Corey's face, but not. He pulled it. Eventually, yeah. Joel showed that. That was so cool.
And then I did see a video afterwards that since this went to his family, went to his wife, Helen, Trump did sign the painting on the front of it. Oh. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
And nothing can replace him or the hurt that his family is feeling, and how their life will be forever altered and changed with him not in it. He won't get to walk his daughters down the aisle when they get married. He won't get to see grandchildren. He won't get to retire with his wife. And no amount of accolades or ceremony is going to replace that. But I still think it's remarkable that President Trump would do something like this for him, because he certainly didn't have to. He has a more than full plate. I think I saw he's going to be in California for a rally very soon.
Then he's coming back to Pennsylvania.
He's doing two rallies, I think, on the same day in Pennsylvania, one in the Northeast and then one in the South.
Yeah, I think Scranton is one, and I don't remember where the other one is, but I'll tell you what, you want to talk about somebody that works his rear end off. Like, the day after he was in Butler, he was in Wisconsin, and their rally, it's funny, we joke all the time. Tony and I have joked about people being
Hold these pictures of Elon Musk. Joel, hold those. I want to talk about that. But while she's going.
But we joke about people being one-uppers, and I was joking with actually B. Hizzy, because he said that Wisconsin looked at Butler and they're like, oh, it's my turn, because Wisconsin probably had more people than Butler did. And I was like, yeah, that's a one-upper I'm okay with. I don't mind that.
Totally.
It's pretty neat. It's pretty cool just to see how many people across the country, like, this is not happening in just Pennsylvania. It's happening everywhere. And it's more people just understand what's at stake, really what's at stake.
Yep. And I would, share this with, don't be afraid to talk to people that are not, as long as they don't have TDS. If they have TDS, they're probably a little bit too far gone. But your friends and family that are undecided, in the middle, not sure, don't really like Trump, share this stuff with him. Because I don't agree with every single thing. Who would have thought Elon Musk? So right here, Elon Musk, for crying out loud. I brought my oldest daughter and my husband to the rally, and one of her friends. My oldest daughter was just like, she's not real animated like me. She's the total opposite, but she really did get excited when she saw Elon Musk. Like, the younger people love this guy. And so, all right, so maybe the other side has Taylor Swift. We've got Elon Musk. I would follow Elon Musk over. I would follow Elon Musk all day long. And I do think, like, you know, she's a kid and we talk at our house all the time that about Taylor Swift, and that we can't help but like some of her music. My daughters, they, you know, like bounce along to the music. They know you are not a Swiftie if you even try to be a Swiftie in our house, because of what that poor girl stands for and what she's being manipulated, the agenda that she's pushing. You will not get food and shelter. So there are no Swifties in our house. But I understand that the music is kind of fun and kids like it, and I get it. But he's like, the cool factor just went through the roof when Elon got on our side. So you could see when Taylor Swift came out, I was like, dang it, because I know my kids are looking at her like they kind of like her music. They know it's not good and it's worldly, and so they don't get to see it. But when he endorsed Trump, I was like, boom, talk about a one-up. Yeah, Taylor, where are you at? My kids love Elon Musk. So
Arc MAGA.
I think it's definitely important that, I don't know what I just said there. I think it's important, though, for these kids, for the younger generation, for us to build up the right role models for them. And again, Elon, I probably don't agree with him on all the issues, but thank God he understands the censorship is at risk in a way that it never has been before, a right to free speech in the First Amendment. And he supports the Second Amendment more than I ever thought he would too. So, hey, he's jumping all around the stage on a Trump rally. Look at this. This was Joel getting back in line from going to try to get food. I mean, there were so many people. I sat in the parking lot for 2 hours when it was over in order to get out. I think Karen too. Were you 2.5?
2.5 hours from the time that we left the fairgrounds to the time that we even got on the main road. We sat in the parking lot for 2.5 hours.
Like, look at that. I mean, so, and this was Joel went out to try to get food, stood in line, waited at least, I think, an hour, and he can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. Decided, forget it. This is going to take forever. I want to help Tony and Karen and audit the vote. I'm going to get back in there. And so this is him coming back in, just trying to get back in to the rally. How many people he had to go through, a time lapse there. So
it took 25 minutes from going to the bathroom for me to get back to my seat. It was crazy.
I mean, it was off the chain. Of course, all you see was a sea of heads. If you were at any elevated level, all you saw was a sea of heads. So as always, the fake news media is going to try to downplay it, but it was a really electric is the best way I can describe it. Of course, we bump into Ivan Raiklan. I think Joel showed some pictures of him there. Ivan's like everywhere. He's like that dude that just pops all over the place. On Roseanne Barr, so exciting. We've been connected with Ivan from the very beginning. At first, of course, not sure, is he on our side? Is he not on our side? Can we trust this guy? I don't know. And here he is still 4 years later fighting with us, and he's getting into some pretty cool doors, being on Roseanne Barr's podcast recently. And I forget where, if I was going to the bathroom or where I was going, and I saw him, and I was just like, oh, of course, Ivan. Course, you're everywhere. So thank you, Ivan, for all the support that he gives us and our volunteers. So we'll go right into wrap up the Trump segment, and we'll go right into some of our initiatives. Karen and one of our volunteers in Butler County are seen here recruiting poll watchers for Election Day, because what we feel that we can control over the next 27 days is that we can get eyes on some of the most vulnerable areas of the election process, and one of which is Pittsburgh, downtown Pittsburgh, Allegheny County. And so this was Karen and Madeline running around trying to recruit people that were from Allegheny County who are willing to poll watch on Election Day. And we're going to talk more about that in a second, some details. We might have some funding, be able to pay some poll watchers. So if you live in Allegheny County, you're watching this and you are willing to go to some potentially sketchy areas or even other areas of Allegheny County, we might be able to pay some poll watchers too. So we're working on that. But before we go there, Joel, let's wrap this stuff up. The video, we did shoot a video. We're going to have a promo video of me talking about the Allegheny County effort. It's not quite ready yet. I should have asked you that backstage, Joel. I completely forgot. Before we do that, let's give you an update. We want to talk about an update from the Supreme Court. So the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, which is not typically in our favor or on our side, they tend to legislate from the bench rather than rule according to the law or the Constitution. But they did just hand down a new ruling, which Karen and I have different perspectives on. I'm going to give you mine. November 5th election, too close to decide the mail-in ballot issues, Pennsylvania Supreme Court says. The headline reads, the High Court on Saturday night refused to take up cases challenging dating requirement and ballot curing policies. So essentially, the RNC and the DNC have been filing court cases and going back and forth, trying to get the Supreme Court to make these final decisions on some of the more contentious issues, like, should we count mail-in ballots that aren't properly dated? Should we allow voters to come in and cure their ballot, meaning fix it if they made some type of mistake, which is easy to do. My mother, when she was alive, did a mail-in ballot, and I helped her fill it out. And of course, we did the outer envelope wrong. I don't remember the details. I just remember looking at it thinking, crap, we screwed that one up. So it's not hard to make a mistake, but, you know, should we allow them to, once they send it in, we did catch it before we sent it in. So we were able to fix it before we actually sent it in. Once it gets actually sent in, should the counties be allowed to call people that made mistakes and have them come in and cure ballots? That's up for grabs too. All of that went before the court, and the court said, no, we're done. We are not going to hear this. We are too close to the November 5th election. I kind of think it's a good thing, because what happened last time, the 2020 election, was all kind of rulings came down this month, the month of October, right before the election, making law, deciding for the counties what the court thought it should be interpreted instead of what the actual law said. It created a ton of confusion. And so I'm kind of looking at this from glass half full side, thinking at least now we know we're not going to be left hanging the week before the election, and they're not going to send down some ruling saying, yes, just count those ballots with no dates, or yes, you can cure ballots, you can't cure ballots. At least now we know that they're basically washing their hands. Karen, take it away and give your perspective, because she kind of has a different take, and I think they're both valuable. And I'm not saying one of us is right and the other is wrong, but take it away, give your spiel.
And so I understand where Tony's coming from, and I do agree that it is so close to the election, and we saw. My frustration is I feel like this is another thing that the PA Supreme Court just kind of washed their hands of. They're like, no, we're not going to do anything. And while, again, I do agree that it is very close to the election, and that's where a lot of issues started in 2020, my frustration is I feel like they're just passing the buck. They're punting the football and saying, you know what, we're not going to actually do our job, because their job isn't to make law. Their job is to look at the law and see if what has been passed is actually constitutional. And I feel like they don't do that. They will legislate from the bench on some of the other ridiculous things that they've done in the past. But as far as actually looking at things and saying, hey, does it follow the PA Constitution? Does it follow what the federal law says? They're just kind of wiping their hands of it.
By the way,
that's all they're supposed to do.
That's it.
That's why they have the least amount of power of our three branches of government. But I feel like they're just pushing the buck. They're like, yeah, somebody else can deal with it. We're not going to. So I love that Tony and I do have differences of opinion, because I totally get hers. I see it from her perspective. And I saw what happened in 2020. That was why Tony and I really got fired up, and we're like, there has to be a recourse for people. But I feel like this is consistent with what we've seen the last 4 years with the PA Supreme Court, is just passing the buck. So that's my frustration.
Every branch of government does it. So it is what it is. So 27 days till we figure out how this is all going to shake out and where it's going to fall. And I don't presume to have all the answers, but there's your update. Pennsylvania Supreme Court basically says we are not getting involved. So as of right now, mail-in ballots that are dated incorrectly will not be counted. And it is up to the individual counties to decide their ballot curing policies, because right now there's really nothing specific in the law. And that's what the lawsuit was attempting to do, is get the court to make a ruling on that. And they decided to wash their hands of it, which means it just depends on your county. So if you want to know what your county is doing, call your county election office and ask, what is their policy for ballot curing? Because they all do something different. Yay. The joys of the Commonwealth. Yes, since we are a Commonwealth, which there are 4 of, by the way, Kentucky, Virginia, Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania. Because we are a Commonwealth, our counties, a lot of that is left up to their jurisdiction, the county commissioner's decision, as opposed to states that are not Commonwealths. It's why we have all the different machine manufacturing companies like Dominion, ES&S, Hart Intercivic, Clear Ballot. And some states have uniform. Georgia, for example, has all Dominion voting machines, and we have different ones because every county can decide. So there's your education tip for the evening. Melanie, thank you for that. Oh, she waited in the French fry line for 2 hours. I'm just read her comment. And when I turned around with a box full of food to head back to the front of the stage area, there was a sea of people, and it was calling. I was calling on Moses to part the sea of people so I could get back to my seat. Eventually, she got through. Yes, it was a sea of people, and the food line was insane. And there's a ton of support, no question about it. Tens of thousands of people. And I recommend you get to one if you can. So moving into our next topic from the Supreme Court is some of our initiatives that we're working on right now. Of course, we're continuing to push for a hand count of paper ballots. As we were working the crowd at the Trump rally, Every single person that I asked if they wanted to be a poll watcher were willing to. I also then asked, would you support a hand count of paper ballots and getting back to that process and removing hackable electronic equipment in our voting system? And I didn't even have anyone bat an eye. Like, yes. So the people, this is almost becoming as popular on both sides, I think, as voter ID. Of course, the current regime that's in power and anybody, others too, Republicans too, are in denial about this, and they just are ignoring in a lot of cases the people and what the work people want. But it is a growing phenomenon for sure, and it is why we are going to continue no matter what happens on November 5th. Our attitude at Audit the Vote is our mission does not change. The fight and the strategies and the tactics we have to use might change depending on how it goes on November 5th, but the mission does not change. We have to get back to a hand counted paper ballot process. And oddly enough, listen to this story. So last night I was at the Faith and Freedom Coalition event in Cranberry. Chris Marola brought in Laura Trump. Phenomenal to see Laura Trump live and in person. She's a great speaker. I didn't know that she used to be a producer for Inside Edition years ago. I didn't know that that was her career.
Didn't know that either.
Yeah, I'm like, the stuff that because she's so well put together. She presents so well. Knew she had to do something where she had speaking in front of people, but didn't know it was Inside Edition. I'll have to look back and see if there's any clips of her. At any rate, she starts, I ran into Noah Formica from TP Action last night, who's done a really good job on the ground registering voters for Turning Point. And we got to talking about the voter registration process because I'm volunteering at my church on Sunday mornings agreed to do a voter registration booth after both the 9 and 11 a.m. service up until the election. And I had someone come up and ask me about registering for the first time, and they were struggling with the online version. So she put everything online. I helped her. She tried to click submit and it wouldn't work. It kept saying error message. We looked back through everything and couldn't figure out what was going on. I took her name and number. I still have to follow up with her and see if she got through it. But I said to Noah, what would you do? And he goes, oh, totally. Just do paper. It's so much safer. It's so much easier. And I had like a judge, like, really just do paper. Like for voter registration, just do paper. All you have to do is fill stuff out on I thought this is the digital age technology. We have to make things simpler and easier and streamlined, and it has to be easy to vote. And we just want everything on a computer. You just told me to go to paper. That's ironic. So anyway, just thought that was an interesting little tidbit of fun. So we are pushing for a hand count of paper ballots, and Karen is spearheading the training piece of that. She's using Linda Rantz from Missouri's Cause of America hand counting method. They are actually using in Missouri, in Osage County in Missouri. So there is a county that is using it. This is not theory. This is something that is being put into practice. And we've tailored it to Pennsylvania and made sure that we're following the Pennsylvania law in the way that we're doing the hand count training. But it is going to take a grassroots army of people and pressure to get our local officials on board, and certainly our elected officials. Depending on how November 5th goes, we might be able to push for some legislation that will at least get it into the county's hands more clear that they can decide if they want to count by hand or if they want to do machines, kind of leave it up to the county. One of the many things that we're batting around and trying to figure out what direction to go. But all that to say, if you've been following us and supporting us, whether it's just in prayer or volunteering your time or generous donation, we appreciate it. And we want you to know that our work is far from done. So we ask you to continue supporting us in whatever way that you can. AuditTheVotePA.com. There's a shameless plug for that. Go there. If you can make a regular monetary donation every single month, we are not stopping. This is going to take probably a generation to fix. 10 years, 5 to 10 years to actually get rid of all the hackable stuff. Go back to paper. I think, what is it, Holly in Georgia that says paper, please? We're going back to paper. And so that's where the fight goes. Just the tactics might look a little bit different. So, yep, Joel has the website up there. The most recent initiative, here's what you can do. Of course, support hand counting. If you're not involved on election day somewhere, get involved. Poll worker is better than poll watcher because you are in the mix of the process and you can control what is happening. And if something goes haywire or awry, you're in a way better position to note it, stop it, get somebody involved, and make sure we have a free and fair election. But if you can't get through to be an election worker, a poll worker, our efforts over the next 27 days are going to be to get every precinct in Allegheny County, which is Pittsburgh, because Karen and I both live on opposite ends of it. I would just feel like we have a little bit more control of this area of the state. And Allegheny County is number 2 in terms of how many registered Republican voters they have. And so it is my opinion, what can we do? Well, I think that they can't pull enough shenanigans to actually steal the entire state. If we can mitigate the cheat in Allegheny County, specifically the red pinpoints that you see on this map. And so if you live in Allegheny, or even if you don't, I'm going to encourage you to go to our website and take a look at this, because we might even have a way to get you certified to poll watch in Allegheny County, even if you don't live there. So just check it out. Fill out the information. If you're not in Allegheny and that doesn't work out, we're happy to get you connected to poll watch wherever it is you are across the state, because we are connected with grassroots and have county leads in all the major counties across the state that we can get you connected if you want to poll watch. But this particular map, so I'm talking right now to the Allegheny Countyans or people on the western side of the state. What I want you to do is to go to this map, go to our website, auditthevotepA.com. It's got its own tab called Eyes on 412. Credit goes to Karen's husband, Dane, who came up with that. We were trying to think of clever little landing pages or something that would be catchy that people would draw more people to. And he said Eyes on 412. So I didn't get the landing page, but that is the name of the page on our website. Click on Eyes on 412 and you can look at this map that gives you, as soon as you click on a pinpoint, Joel is scrolling through it right now. It gives you the actual name of the place where the polling location is, the address, the form is right there that you can click on, then will take you to sign up to watch at that polling location. All the information is on there. I haven't figured out how to automate it to get the form to automatically fill in all that info. So you will have to copy what you're seeing there and get it posted on the form. Even if all you get is the name of the polling location, that is good enough. I will figure it out. And somebody on our team, myself or someone else, will be in touch with you. Ideally 24 hours after you fill out that form. So then we can get you through the training process, because there's going to be multiple steps to getting credentialed and trained. Look at that map. We have quite a bit to fill up. There are 1,323 precincts in Allegheny County. We need all hands on deck for this one. We're the red areas. So if you're looking, okay, like I'm willing to go anywhere, I have no fear. Where do you really need people? The red areas is the city of Pittsburgh. That is where the most amount of shenanigans have happened. We have seen happen. When we unveil this video that Joel just shot, I tell a couple of stories where we actually have affidavits of people on the ground witnessing judge of elections, the person responsible for running the polling location, leaving the polling location and coming back with ballots from God knows where, and also allowing people to vote, fill out a ballot without signing the poll book. This has happened, witnessed. The county has done nothing about it. They've been alerted all the way up the chain in writing and everything, and they've done a slap on the wrist. So that is just not going to cut it this time around. And I really think if we can get all the red ones at least covered and the shenanigans stopped on the ground in the red areas, there just might not be enough votes in the rest of the state for them to steal the whole state. So we're pushing really hard. We're trying to get funding. This might end up even being a paid position, working on getting people paid maybe like $150 for the day if you're able to commit to the whole day and you have to take off work, and that helps. But do not delay. Go to our website, auditthevotepA.com, Eyes on 412. Find a place on this map where you think you could go. Click on the link to sign up, fill everything out, and we'll be in touch with next steps. The credentialing process isn't complicated. It's just there's multiple steps because you need to get trained so you can get a certificate from the party. And then we are going to do deeper dive training, Trump Force 47. I've heard some people say it's great. Some people say it's not. I don't really know what they're doing, but we're going to teach you on our experience. Here's what we recommend if they drop off a busload of what you think are illegals at the poll. What do you do? Or here's what we recommend you do if you could see somebody coming in that looks like they're with a handler, and they don't really, they're kind of there against their will. Like, what do you do? Or if someone tries to let somebody sign in or vote without signing the poll book. We're going to do some of those deeper dive trainings between now and the election, but you have to get signed up first. So auditthevotepA.com/eyes-on-412. Karen, anything I forgot? Anything we need to chime in on there? The instructions are even on the website too of what to do. Anything else?
I don't think so. I think you got it.
Barb, I'm a poll worker and my husband is going to be a poll worker for the first time. Yes!
Amazing.
That is awesome. That's the good thing that came from 2020 is there's more and more people with eyes on stuff and paying attention than ever before. So, yes. Hey, duty is ours. Results are God's. So check that out. That is something we worked really hard on the last couple of days. And this is what Karen and Madeline were doing in that picture as they were running around the crowd. We've already got a good bit of people signed up for these locations. And so I'm believing that we're going to fill definitely all the red spots and hopefully all the blue ones too between now and Election Day. So let's see. What else do we got? Is it time to go to questions?
VOCL.
Take it away, Karen. Karen's going to talk about what we're doing on election day to report the shenanigans, get it out to the public, minimize the fake news. Take it away, my girl, VOCL.
Yes. So, Mike Lindell has had for a while Frank's Speech, which has now been rebranded to VOCL, VOCL. The reason I'm going to tell you to go on and create an account, and I know it's another social media. There are so many of them. I get it. However, this is very important. The reason I'm telling you to do this is because once you get on here, you have to put a profile picture. If you do get on here, put your profile picture. What I need you guys to do is email me at karen@auditthevotepA.com and let me know what your username is. What we're going to do is get you what's called a badge, so that on election day, you can actually go on and report any issues live time that you might be seeing. So, for instance, what happened in Northampton County last election, where people on the ground were seeing the ES&S machines flipping their votes. If you see something like that, you can go onto VOCL. You can actually geotag yourself where you are at, what polling location you are at, what is going on. There's a ton of hashtags. We will go over training in this publicly. The Cause of America team will actually have a training coming up in the next couple of weeks that we'll be able to broadcast publicly. We'll talk more about this. But here's the cool thing. Once you put it on there, it's out for the world to see. So there's no more of the fake news saying, well, nothing happened on election day. We didn't see anything except for maybe this one person, who's a Republican or whatever. This way, anything that happens, it is out there for the world to see what is going on election day. And there's no denying if they see the stuff pop in throughout the day. And even now, when people are doing early voting in Pennsylvania, because we do have early voting for 50 days, if something's going on, if they run out of ballots, if, whatever the case is, you can go on there now and report what is going on. And here's the cool thing is that Tony and I will be able to monitor this stuff in Pennsylvania. So if there is an actionable item, if we can, something's going on, you're not able to vote, whatever the case is, we can do something about it right then and there instead of finding out 3 or 4 days later. So I implore you, I'm begging you, please, please, please. I know it's another social media, but this is a way that we can actually broadcast what is going on in real time.
Yep. And if you're hanging out on election day and want to know where to go for updates, this is a place you can go and figure out what is happening on the ground from people who are live in the action, not somebody that's sitting in an office somewhere with headphones on that's being told what to say about what's going on, but people that are actually live on the ground. So definitely take a look at this. And whatever it is you're doing on election day, I would stay connected to this. You should know that True the Vote has partnered with this effort with Cause of America. So if you're using True the Vote's app, they are connected. We're bringing in all the troops. We're trying to get as unified as possible. Every movement has their disconnects and arguments and disagreements and early voting versus mail-in ballots and all that crap. But it's really cool to see everybody come together, or a lot of people really come together that maybe didn't agree on stuff before, into this one effort so that we can make sure we get the right information, accurate information on the ground out to the public. So that's really, really exciting. So this is not True the Vote is in with us. They are in with Cause of America and a part of this initiative. Audit the Vote, of course, is small potatoes compared to those guys, and we will be on the ground eyes in Pennsylvania. Anything else about this before we just take some questions?
I think that's it.
Okay. Biggest question I am getting today is, do I vote early? Do I vote by mail? Is it safe? What do I do? It's drop boxes. There's no drop boxes. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you my perspective. If Karen has a different thought, she is welcome to do that too. And thank you for that. Totally forgot. Let's do the question and then we'll get to the Elon petition, because I already started on this train of answering this question. So what do we do about early voting and mail? I don't presume. First of all, let me say that no matter what we do, we are taking a chance. We are rolling the dice. I hate it. It feels like Vegas, but it is what it is. So if you take something to heart that I say and it doesn't go that way, I'm telling you right now, I don't have any extra inside military intelligence information that I'm feeding you. This is just our opinion and experience based on what's going on. I have no doubt that they're going to try something on election day to suppress the vote. I don't know what that looks like. Maybe that is what the storms that are all coming through and why FEMA is ignoring North Carolina like it's their job to do so, because they don't want people to be able to get out to vote. I don't know. But my personal opinion, because of my experience, has been I would walk over broken glass on election day to get to the polls and cast my ballot in person. If I had to canoe my way out of my driveway and literally float there, I will figure out a way to get there. Now, is it possible that some natural disaster is going to happen and they're going to shut it all down? Well, yeah, in which case we won't have an election. And I know that there's theories and conspiracy theories around all of that floating all over the place. I don't know. I'm not going there, but I'm planning to vote on election day. However, not everybody in our movement feels that way. So as you are getting out the vote, or your friends and family, anything that you are doing to help increase turnout and get more votes on election day, when you're talking with people that you find they are not like you, they are not just going to get there no matter what, they're kind of undecided, wishy-washy, it probably at this point makes sense to either get them to vote early at their county courthouse, which unfortunately in Pennsylvania, we have 50 days of early voting. So whether or not you have an official satellite stamped office like they do all over Montgomery County, or you have to go to your county courthouse to vote, that's probably the safest place to do it. You can vote early doing that, and that won't close until election day. Or you can request a mail-in ballot. I know, a mail-in ballot. You can request a mail-in ballot. And hey, guess what? If you're going to watch the polls or work the polls, this is why they had absentee ballots, because that's what you used to do. And so for certain circumstances like that, I don't see anything wrong with it. It's just the no excuse side that they've opened up that's kind of changed the game a little bit. So don't be like so afraid to do one that if you're working the polls, like, I'm not going to work the poll, or I'm not going to watch the poll because I want to vote in person. Well, we kind of need eyes everywhere. So well, it's okay to take that. You got to weigh the risk and the benefit and figure out if it's worth taking the chance. In that case, I think it's worth taking the chance. But again, if you're a walk over broken glass person, then just stick with voting on election day and get all your friends and family who haven't voted early and haven't done a mail-in ballot to the polls on election day. But if they're iffy at all, and take your chance, roll the dice with one of the other options. Karen, any difference of opinion or
no? I mean, if you've been voting on election day, don't change it just because somebody's telling you to vote early. I mean, don't. If you're going to if you were planning on going to the polls, go to the polls. But if you know people who are not going to go vote, if they're not getting a mail-in ballot, or they're not going to go early, then yeah, absolutely. Because we need every legal matters. Every legal vote matters, and we want every legal vote to count.
Amen.
Right?
Exactly. And we're going to get an election process that supports that 100% through our advocacy efforts. Right. But yeah, so there's the mail-in ballot. Mail-in ballot answer. I hope that clears it up for everybody. We should do like little clips. Joel, we'll talk about this, putting together some videos maybe over the next 27 days, just in clips, answering these questions that we can get out to people so they know, because there are deadlines too. Actually, the deadline to request a mail-in ballot, if you don't get one by October 29th, you cannot. That is the deadline. The deadline to register to vote is October the 21st. Yep. And so if you're not, we will know on October 21st how many voters there are in every county registered officially. Of course, it might take time for them to process the applications, I'm finding. So there's no guarantee that we won't see a fluctuation there. But in a perfect world, the 21st, that's it. So the total, we shouldn't see 100,000 new voters come into any one area after the 21st, if you will. So this is a way that we can monitor things. And the 29th is the last day. So we will know how many mail-in ballots are out there. I don't see any reason why there should be wiggle room on that one, right, Karen? Like the 29th, this is automated. It's supposed to be computerized in the system. We should be able to know on October 29th, this is the maximum number of mail-in ballots that are out there available to be cast. And you bet your bananas that we are on top of that at Audit the Vote, because that's something in 2020. Well, Karen, we were just still watching. We were in the middle of hosting our first Constitution class. No clue. I was still trying to figure out how people were posting on their social medias that they just left their courthouse and voted early. I was like, what? Like, I totally was not putting the pieces together. Of course, President Trump was screaming since before COVID even that they were going to try to steal the election. And I distinctly remember thinking, how do you steal an election? That doesn't even make sense. Yep. And then, oh boy, did we get our rear ends educated and handed to us in a not so great way.
You know what? To keep going with dates, though, you guys know the election is November 5th. However, there are still ballots that will be accepted up to November 12th. Those are our UOCAVA ballots. UOCAVA ballots are military, foreign dignitaries, any U.S. citizens that are overseas, contractors, things like that. They will accept those ballots until November 12th. So if you are military and you're watching us, first of all, thank you for your service. Second of all, know you have until November 12th to be able to get those ballots in.
Boom. Good to know. Good to know. Hopefully we know the result, which is so bizarre because we want to know election day, but of course we want our military overseas to have their votes counted and voices be heard as well.
That's right.
Oh, it's such a fine line. Last thing is this, which should have been the before thing. If there's any other questions, drop them in the chat. We'll do the best we can to answer them. We're at 45 minutes. We'll definitely wrap up in an hour. We both got, well, your kiddos might be in bed, but my kiddos are not. So we have stuff on the home front to take care of. Elon Musk unleashed a petition a couple days ago called the Petition in Favor of Free Speech and the Right to Bear Arms. And what he's asking people to do is that if you support the idea that you do not want our speech to be censored or labeled in any way as hate speech, that's kind of the way around it that I'm seeing them do, is they're labeling certain speech they don't agree with as hate speech. And then that's what they want to ban. And they're trying to say, well, the First Amendment doesn't cover hate speech. So free speech, it's important. This is a very, very important battle. Or you support the Second Amendment. Elon Musk put this out there, which is unique, interesting. Appreciate the guy's brain and how he works. They're trying to get 1 million people, registered voters in the swing states, to sign in support of the Constitution. I think he called it a petition in favor. If you support the Constitution, you understand we are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic, which their media is trying to paint as a bad thing, especially freedom of speech and the right to bear arms. This program is exclusively open to registered voters in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, Michigan. Scroll back up, Joel. I can't see. Wisconsin and North Carolina. And this expires the same day our registration ends in Pennsylvania on October 21st. Sign it. But here's the bonus and the reason we're putting it out, because we're not sure exactly how this is going to work, but he says he's giving $47 for every registered voter that you refer to sign this petition. So if you haven't signed this yet, you might have by now, because tons of organizations, it's floating all over the internet. But if you haven't done it yet and you want to fill it out and you're willing to donate that $47 to Audit the Vote for us to get credit for it so that we can pay some poll watchers, we would really appreciate it. And so all we're asking you to do, you can scroll down, Joel, is fill it out. I think your name, your email. They do ask for your cell phone number. It says it's only to confirm that you are the legitimate signer and for no other purpose. So hopefully we don't get phished. And your mailing address. But did someone refer you where you put your email or your cell phone number? If you would put info@auditthevotepA.com there, then they'll be able to track that. And again, not exactly sure how this payout is even working, but we thought, might as well give it a shot. So if you haven't signed it yet, probably a lot of you that are watching already have. But if you have not, and you would be willing to do that, we would very much appreciate it. And your donation will go to a fabulous cause of stopping the steal of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Info@auditthevotepA.com. All right. Any other questions in the chat that we missed? Anything else before we wrap tonight up? I don't think so. I'm not seeing anything.
Nope.
Anything else? Of course, we're talkers, so we could talk forever. Constitution Alive donations. Thank you, Joel. Constitution Alive. We're in week number 3 on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. So good to see so many people from across the nation that are coming back either for a second time or first timers getting exposed for the first time. We've shared the links. Email me if you want to do that. It's all over our social media as Constitution Alive. But don't forget to go to auditthevotepA.com/donations. And if you can, a one-time donation towards our cause of funding poll watchers and or becoming a recurring monthly subscriber. Look, everybody has a little bit. Originally, we had asked a bunch of people if they would just give $5 a month. Can you afford to give $5 a month to an election integrity organization that's been advocating since 2020 to go back to hand counting paper ballots and exposing what happened? We would very much appreciate it. I think even the beggars on the street that we see sometimes in downtown Pittsburgh probably can scrape together $5 every month that they've been given and donate to this cause. So consider becoming a monthly supporter, whether it's $5, $10, $20, or just one time. Hey, we'll take it and it'll go to good use. So
Barb, guys, Tony and I are going to try and do this weekly up until the election. So if you guys have any ideas of things that you want covered, questions that you might have, you can send them into info@auditthevotepa.com and let us know you want this covered. And Tony and I can make sure to get that covered in the next show. But we want to make sure, if you guys have election questions, if you have situations that are going on that you don't know how to handle, please, 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 we love the feedback. We want to make sure that we give you guys as much as we can as far as news across Pennsylvania. So please message us, let us know. And we're going to try and do this at least once a week, if not more, if there's breaking news.
Sounds great. All right, you guys, 27 days, but we'll see you next week at the latest. Like she said, we're going to try to do this more often. So as always, it's great sharing with everybody. Get out the vote. Have a great night, guys.